All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and start. Again, let me just say good afternoon again for those who are just joining. I am Miss Taylor. So I'll be going through some past paper questions with you this afternoon. And as you know, we're going to be looking at the topics that CXE would have posted for us. So we're going to just use those topics to guide us as it relates to the paper that we will be looking at. So as you all know that we have 6 topics out: books of original entry, we have ledgers, bank reconciliation, accounting for the limited liability companies, we have cooperatives and non-profit organizations. We also have manufacturing and costing principles, as well as business plan. So for today, the questions that we're going to be looking at is going to be from some of these topics, all right? So to better prepare you guys for the exam. I want it to be very interactive, so you know that I want to hear from you. And if you have your questions, please feel free to ask your questions, any clarification you might need, anything. So I don't want it to be a session where I am the only one talking, because remember, this is really for you. So I want to ensure that we get the best from this, all right? So if everybody agrees, you can just type it in the chat, all right? So the very first question that we're going to look at, let me just share my screen so that you can see the question. Just give me a second. So we're going to be looking at June 2021 paper first. Let me go ahead and share that. Anybody done this question before? June 2021, that's last year's question. Anybody? Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Remember, you can utilize the chat, all right? I'm just trying to add these persons who are in the waiting room. All right, so for this question, let's just read through to see what is it asking us. This is a ledger, well, this is our books of original entry. So we're looking at this first. So let's just, can I have a reader, please? May I have somebody just read through these transactions for us?
Okay, Miss.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Anil is a debtor who owes Metro Trading $5,600 as at the 30th of April 2021. The following information was extracted from the books of Metro Trading for the month of May 2021. May 7, sold merchandise on credit to Anil. The sales invoice is for $3,450 less 20% trade discount. May 9, Anil settled the amount outstanding from last month April by check after deducting a cash discount of 3%. May 13th, sent a credit note for $360 to Anil for merchandise received on May 7 in a damaged condition. May 15, sent a check $230 to Anil for an overpayment made in the month of March. Use the form provided below to prepare Anil's account in the books of Metro Trading for the month of May. Show the balance.
Awesome, thank you very much there. All right, so these are just some simple transactions that you need to enter in Anil's account. He's a debtor, of course, so we're going to enter these transactions in his account. So let us just go through before we go ahead and enter the information. All right, so of course we know that Anil is a debtor. Who is a debtor? Can somebody tell me who is a debtor?
A person that owes the business.
Very good. So a debtor is somebody who owes the business money, right? So therefore, is it an asset? Is it capital? Is it liability? What do we consider debtors to be?
Asset.
It's an asset. Awesome. Very good. So a debtor is an asset, right? So then and there we know that Anil is an asset to the company, all right? So we have the information here that Anil owes the company 5,600, and you have to look at the date. So the date here is 30 April 2021. All right, so the following information here that we are going to record is for the month of May. So the first transaction states, sold merchandise on credit to Anil. The sales invoice is for 3,450, and he received a trade discount right here, 20%. Can somebody tell me what are the two accounts that's been affected in this transaction? So we're selling merchandise to Anil. What are the two accounts here?
Merchandise.
Sales.
It would be sales, yes, sales, and
And
which other
Anil?
account?
And Anil?
Anil's account, very good. The person who said merchandise, is it that you mix up merchandise with sales?
Missing out for sales to us like when you're selling goods.
You're selling goods, very good, awesome. All right, so you know, normally when you see the asset there, you normally put the name of the account, but we're looking at selling goods, you know, that is considered to be sales, all right? So we know that then and there that we are selling goods to Anil, but this is on credit. We're not collecting the money immediately, but at a later date, all right? So what is it that we're going to record in Anil's account? Because remember, we're focusing on the debtor's account, right? So is it that we're going to debit or we're going to credit, and why? Can somebody just explain that?
So you're going to debit?
We're going to debit Anil's account, and how much is it that we're going to put in his account?
We're going to
Yes,
find
2,000.
We're going to do the calculation, of course. So I'm hoping that you all have your calculator ready. All right. So we need to find the 20%. So can somebody just quickly go ahead and plug in the information for us?
Yes, 2,760.
2,760. Very good. I hope that you're remembering these information, because I'm going to be showing you pretty soon on the screen how is it that we're going to record all of this information in Anil's book. All right. So that's 2,760. So for persons who probably don't understand how we get that, we're going to find the 20% of the 3,450 that's in the transaction for me, step one, right? And because we're selling goods to Anil, so therefore he's receiving assets. So when assets increases, you know that we debit. So that would be recorded on the debit side of Anil's account. Are there any questions on that one? Okay,
What the
question.
2009 something was for again?
Go again.
Yes,
I can hardly hear you. Can you repeat for me, please?
So I was asking, could you repeat what the $2,000 and something was for again? Was it
What's
for
the total? The total is 2,760. Do you know how we arrive at the $2,760?
We found 20% of the 2,000.
20% of the 3,450. Very good. So again, I'm just going to implore you, if you don't have a calculator at hand, I'm going to ask you to get your calculator. All right, because we're going to need it. All right, so that is it for May 7. Again, for persons who are just joining us, good afternoon. I am Ms. Taylor, and we're looking at questions coming from the topics that CXC would have posted. So if you realize, we're looking at some ledger accounts right here. All right, so we're doing some double entry. All right, so this paper is for last year. So this is a 2021 paper, June paper. All right, so we're looking at the first question. So we're on to May 9th now, and it states, Anil settled the amount outstanding from last month. All right. So we're saying now that we're looking at May's transactions. Is that a question? Sorry.
Is what about the 20% trade discount? We would record it as
No, we don't record. Very good question. We don't record trade discount in Anil's book. All right. So this trade discount would not be recorded here. All right. Remember, we record cash discount, not trade discount. Okay. So we just record for the item that we sold. That is it. All right. Very good. All right. So let us just continue. I'm just trying to add persons while, you know, we go ahead and do the transactions. So just bear with me. All right, so Anil settled the amount outstanding from last month. And remember that we're looking at the transactions for May, but last month here, we're talking about April, all right? he received a cash discount. So this is what we're going to be recording now in Anil's book, of course, because we record cash discount in our ledger accounts, all right? So if it is that we received 3%, and remember that the amount that we're looking at is from April because he would have settled this amount. And if you look up at the top here, where it stated that Anil is a debtor who owes Metro Trading 5,600, you can see the amount here for April's transactions, right? So this is what we're talking about when we say that he settled the amount for May. So can somebody quickly do the calculation and tell me how much is it that you get for the 3%?
$168.
Repeat for me, please.
$168.
$168. Awesome. So what is it that we're going to do with that $168? Where do we record that?
On the credit side?
On the credit side. Awesome. So we're going to record that on the credit side. But what is the details? What is this considered to be? Yes, we get a discount, a cash discount. What is this cash discount called now? What's the details?
Allowed.
Discount allowed. All right, very good. So over to the credit side now. So we know for sure that for the discount allowed, it is $168. All right, but we're not only recording that $168 because remember, even though we get a cash discount, what is it that we normally do with the amount that we receive as a discount? Is it that we just record it, or we're gonna minus, or we're gonna add? What is it that we're gonna do to this 168?
Subtract.
We're gonna subtract, but what is it that we're gonna subtract from? The initial amount. Very good, the initial amount, which is the 5,600. So when we subtract the 168 from the 5,600, we should get a total of $5,432, and the details would have been banked. All right, so again, I'm just going through the information, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to project it on the screen so that you can see, all right? So we're going to write 2 transactions here for May 9th because we have bank and we also have discount allowed. Are there any questions so far about the 168, which is the discount allowed? Everybody understand how is it that we arrive at the 168? Any questions? Go again, sorry.
No, miss, what is it guys do?
No questions, you're good. You're a little far away.
Miss,
Yes, go ahead.
I was asking how you guys got the 168.
Okay, let me just explain that for you. All right, so if you realize that they stated that Anil got a cash discount of 3% because he settled the amount outstanding from April. And if you look up at the top here for the introduction, it stated that he owed 5,600 as at April 30th. Are you seeing that information?
Yes, miss.
Right. So the 3% is what we're going to calculate for the 5,000. So you find 3% of 5,600. Do you have your calculator at hand right now? Because it's very important that when you're doing accounts, you have your calculator. So you know for sure how we get the figures, all right? So 3% of 5,600 and you get the 168. That is the cash discount. So remember, he would have owed us 5,600. He's no longer going to be paying us that 5,600 because we offered him a cash discount of 168. So the amount that we should collect from Anil is the 5,432, because when we minus the 168 from the 5,600, we get that total. Do you understand now?
Yes, miss.
Okay, very good. All right. So we can then continue. So the next transaction here, May 13, sent a credit note for $360 to Anil for merchandise received on May 7 in a damaged condition. Who can tell me what this transaction means? Who can just explain it to us? What do you understand about this? Again?
He returned some of the merchandise back to
He
the business.
returned some of the merchandise back to our business. Very good, because they were in deplorable condition. There were some damaged goods. And you know, as a debtor, if you should go and purchase some items and you know that they're damaged, you didn't get the right thing that you ordered, you don't want to pay for it, and it would be unfair for you to pay for those items. So Anil is going to be returning those goods, and the amount of goods that he's returning costs $360. So how much money is it that,
Miss, so that would have been a outward.
pardon me,
Miss, it would be a return outward.
is it return outwards though? What is return outwards? Can you tell me what is return outwards?
This is return inwards because Anil is returning the goods to us. If it was return outwards, we would be returning the goods to Anil.
Very good. So let me just clarify that. So remember, we have two different types of returns here. So return inwards is when the customer returns the goods to the business. And this is the reason, because for this situation, they were damaged. All right. And we just established that we wouldn't pay for goods that are damaged. It would be unfair to us. However, for return outwards now, this is when the business return the goods to the supplier. All right. So whoever you buy the goods from, you're gonna send them back because it probably be the wrong size, just the wrong item that you wanted, or they may be damaged. All right. So this would be return inwards. How is it that we treat return inwards account? Can somebody tell me? Do we debit or credit return inwards?
It's credit.
Debit.
We always debit or return inwards account, and we credit or returns outwards. Because remember, while we debit return inward, look at it this way. If it is that customers are sending back the goods, right? Or assets are increasing because we're getting more assets, we're getting more goods. Remember, inventory is an asset, you know, guys. So when we get back those inventory, we're saying now that the stock that we have is going up, it is increasing. When assets increase, we debit. So that is the principle behind you debiting the return inwards account. Are we clear? Okay.
Yes, miss. But I have a question.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
Yes, I was watching a video once, and they were saying that you send a credit note to your customers
Mm-hmm.
who return goods to you
Mm-hmm.
to tell them that their account is being credited.
Mm-hmm.
Does that only mean, is that only applicable to like the sales ledger?
If it is only applicable to sales, yes. Because remember, for the credit note, it is really telling you that you have this amount to basically get back because you didn't use it up. And remember, it's a case where you would have bought some items. And remember, once the company is selling you, right, it is considered to be sales. So the company selling you some merchandise, the company selling you some items, it is sales. So yes. All right. Because remember, if you should go to a store and buy something and you go back to the store 2 days later to let them know that, okay, this item that I received, something is wrong with it. At times they will not give you back the cash, right? You know, some companies, they don't just refund you the cash. What they tend to do is write you a credit note. So that's what they would do. All right. So that goes hand in hand with sales because you're buying. All right. So what is it that we're going to do with this $360? Is it that in Anil's account we're going to credit or we're going to debit? What is it that we're going to do since we just established that it is return inwards?
Credit.
We're going to credit because you just tell me just know that we normally debit or return inwards account. All right. What I normally do, even though we're just focusing on Anil's account, which is the debtor, I normally ensure that I tell my students that when you're doing ledgers, please bear in mind that 2 accounts are normally affected. So even if they don't ask you to show for the other account, just remember that just remember that one is debited and one is credited. All right. So at all times, there are 2 accounts that is going to be affected. So in this case, we know that it's return inwards and we're looking at Anil's account. So very good there. We're going to credit Anil's account with 360 years. Are there any questions so far? Is everybody clear?
Yes, I have one more question.
Go ahead with your question.
It's okay. So you just said that you're supposed to debit Anil's credit Anil's
Credit.
account.
Right.
Yes, miss. Miss, could we use the sales ledger principle about the credit note that like a credit note is sent to debtors to tell them that you are crediting their account?
Yes, you could. Very good. And what do we normally do with sales account? Do we normally credit or do we normally debit?
Debit.
It has, go again?
Credit, miss.
It has a
generally.
credit, right? It's at a credit balance, so we normally credit. So yes, so that information goes hand in hand. All right. Very good. All right, so we can then move on now to May 15. Sent a check $230 to Anil for an overpayment made in the month of March. What is happening here, guys? Can somebody just quickly tell me? Anybody understand what this transaction is saying?
Is it saying that some of
Refund.
the return?
It's a refund, okay. And somebody else was
This
trying
is
to
a
say
bank
something?
refund.
Yes, good. So how is it that we're going to treat it?
Debit.
In Anil's account.
Debit. Miss
We're
Debit.
going to debit. We're going to debit. Can you tell me why we debit though?
It's called
The business.
she getting it back.
The person is getting back the money, okay? Because you know one day you probably go in and your goods came up to $5,000 and you realize that, okay, when you check your receipt, you realize that, but wait, everything is not for $5,000, you understand? So they would have refunded you the amount of money that they would have overcharged, you understand? So that's what this is saying. And you know, this happens transaction to transactions each day, all right? So we're going to debit Anil's account because he is basically getting back the refund that they overstated. All right, so that's $230. So that would have been it for all these transactions. And then lastly, we would have balance off. So what I'm gonna do now is to just share my screen and we're going to put in the information. So I'm going to ask you that you have your book ready because we're going to do the information for those persons who probably just joined, who probably not sure what is it that we're doing so that they can see. All right, so I'm going to ask you to just quickly snap this for me, please, because I'm going to stop sharing the question and you need it. And then I'm going to share my screen to just do the question with you guys. All right, so let me just go ahead now and share the other screen. Did you guys snap the question so I can go ahead now and share? All right, let me just go ahead now and share. Right, so you can have your books ready, right? So I'm just gonna be doing this in Word, right? So we have our debit side, and of course we have our credit side. You know that we have the details and amount on either side, and the year that we're looking at is 2021. All right. So we're now gonna put in our balance, and our balance is gonna be on the debit side because you know that Anil, as you would have explained, Anil is an asset, and you know that assets carry a debit balance, right? Normally carry a debit balance. Let me just go ahead and admit these persons. All right, so let's just put in the information now. So it would have been the 1st of May for the date, and the details would have been your balance brought down.
Chris, could you please go back to the question, please?
All right, give me a second. So I'm hoping that you have your books doing, just head up the ledger account for Anil. All right, let me just go ahead and share back the question and then I can share it. I was trying to share both, but that can't work, all right? Let me just quickly share back the question with you guys. Hurry up and just snap the picture for me, please. There we go. Are you seeing it? Pardon me?
Miss, so for the heading for the account, Miss, we can only just write like the debtor and it, or we have to see what type of ledger account it is.
I don't hear you. Go again. Sorry.
Miss, I was asking. Should we only just state the debtor annual, or are we supposed to also state what type of ledger account?
No, man, you can just put debtor and put the name of the debtor annual, as what you would have seen I've done earlier. That's it. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So for those persons, can I go ahead now and share about what we're doing? I'm just asking you to just quickly snap the question so that you have it for your purpose. All right.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to now go back to the answer.
Like that.
Alright, so as you can see here, I just have debtor and the name of the debtor, which is Anil. All right, so that is fine. That's what the question asked you for either way. All right, and the amount for the balance. Anybody remember what was the opening balance again?
Miss 5,600.
5,600. Very good. So that's what we would record for the balance brought down. All right. The next transaction now would have been May 7, and you would have explained that we're selling some merchandise to Anil on credit. So if it is that we're selling goods to Anil, remember that Anil is a debtor and he's receiving goods, and also inventory is also an asset as well, because debtors are assets. But right here, inventory is increasing, so he's getting more goods, right? So therefore, we're going to debit for May 7. And this would have been sales. You know that the opposite would have been your sales, which is crediting. As I was explaining, at all times when you're doing double entry, just try to remember, just try to know what are the two accounts. Even though they didn't ask us to open a sales account, at least we know that, okay, we would normally, would normally credit the sales account. So definitely we know that we're going to debit Anil's account. How much is the sales again, please?
Miss 2,760.
Very good, thank you. Awesome. And the next transaction now is May 9th. So May 9th was telling us that we basically, the business, when I say we, we're talking about the business, all right? So we basically gave Anil a cash discount. So for the trade discount that he would have received, which is the 20%, we don't record that in his account, the debtor's account, all right? We record cash discount. So for persons who probably don't remember, hope that you remember that for trade discount, you don't record it in the debtor's account, you record cash discounts, all right? So for this transaction now, for May 9th, we will have two items that we're going to be recording, all right? So if it is that we receive Anil received 3%, right, on the 5,600, because if you realize in the transaction, it stated that he received this amount from the outstanding balance, which would have been in April, because remember, we're doing our financial statements now, and the ending would have been 30 April, but we're looking at trading for the month of May. So the information would not be on the balance that we have for May. It would have been from April, which is the 5,600. All right. So we do the 3%, guys. Remember, I'm asking you, if it is that you're not asking a question, please to mute. All right. Please to mute your mics. Let me just go ahead and do that. If it is that you're not asking a question. All right, thank you. All right, so we're gonna find a 3% on the 5,600, and that would give us a total of $168. All right, so that 168, we're gonna then minus from the 5,600, because as I would have explained earlier, remember that you get a discount. If it is that you get a discount, you will not be paying the total that you were supposed to pay in the initial stage, right? So you're gonna minus the 168, and that would leave us with 5,432. So this is what he is basically paying now. So we're gonna record that on the credit side, which is the 9th of May, and the details would have been blank because it stated that it's checked. 5,432 for the amount. Do I have any questions so far, guys? No
Miss,
questions?
isn't
Yes.
it like, Miss, you're not going to like record the discount alone?
Yes, of course. Remember, I just explained to you that you don't record trade discount, you record cash discount, and this is a cash discount, right? So the next part of the question, same date, it's going to be recorded now. And remember, we just explained it, and you tell me that it is discount allowed because we gave him a discount. So what is it that we're going to put for the amount for discount allowed? Is it the 5,600? How much are we putting? 160. Very good. I'm just checking that you guys are following. Very good. All right. So that's it for May 9th. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Or we can just move on to May 13. All right, good. And we just explained May 13. So we know that we're going to basically credit May 13th, which is returns inward. So let's just write that there. May 13th, returns inwards. And what's the amount again for the returns inwards?
360.
360, lovely. Then we can move on to May 15th. Can somebody quickly just remind us what we're doing with May 15 again?
Refund.
Mr. Bank refund. Yes, it is a bank refund. So is it that we're going to credit or we're going to debit?
Miss Debit.
We're going to debit because Anil is getting back the money. All right, so that's May 15. And we put back because I check. All right, awesome. Did anybody balance off so far? Because I know that you would have had that, have the information already. Did you balance off?
No, miss.
Yes, miss.
I'm just trying to, multitask, checking the chat and so forth. You can put return inwards and put credit note. However, if you have credit note, if you have returns inwards, you're still correct. All right, and I'm talking for May 13th. All right, so you would still be correct. So let me just put it in brackets for persons who probably not so sure if you can put it, but yes, credit note. So thanks for that. All right. So we can safely say that we would have completed putting in the information in Anil's book. All right, so now is the final lap, which is that we're going to balance off. And who is it that we balance off? Can just one person quickly tell us how we balance off again?
Yeah, add up the side with the greatest number.
We're going to add up the debit side, get a total, add up the credit side, get a total,
Then
and then
minus.
whichever side is larger, we're going to minus the smaller from the
Minus and
larger.
the difference.
Very good to get the difference. So that difference that we get, what do we call it? The balance carried down. Awesome. So in this case, for Anil's account, which side is the smaller side?
Mr. Credit.
The credit side. Very good. So we're going to put the balance carried down on the credit side. What date we normally record the balance carried down as?
Miss for the
First of the next the end of the month.
I'm hearing the first, I'm hearing the ending. It is the ending of the month that we're working with. Very good. So it's the ending, right? So let us just put the 31st of May on the credit side, as you guys mentioned, and you're correct, carry down. And what's the carry down figure?
Miss 2,630.
2,630. Very good. And then you know that we're just going to put our totals. And what's the total that you get for both sides now?
Miss 8,590.
Very good, very good. 8,590 on the debit side, and over to the credit side, it should be the same because we're balancing off means that our credit side should equal our debit side. And then you know that you're going to double line, of course. Let me just go ahead and just do that here. Let me just underline it here for now. And the last thing we're going to do is to record our balance brought down. Which side do we record the balance brought down on, and what is the amount for a balance brought down?
debit side.
The debit side.
On the
And
opposite
2,000
side. Very good. So the opposite side in this case would have been the debit side. So the balance carried down is on our credit. So the opposite side would have been the debit side. And what's the amount that we put there? Is it that we're going to put the 8,000?
No, miss.
Why not? I thought that's what we put there. Why we don't put the 8,590?
Miss, because the balance carried down is always the balance brought down for the new month.
All right, so because we did our calculations and we know for sure that this is the amount that we know have in this account for the carry down, then therefore when we're balancing off, our BD should always be the same as the carry down. So we can safely say that in Anil's account, he has $2,630. So let me go ahead and write the balance drop down. And what they do, we record this again?
The first
The first of the next month, and in this case, it's June. Awesome. So we have balance 2,630. All right.
So, Miss, I think
So this is the end now of this question.
Miss,
Go ahead. Sorry.
why was it returned inwards again?
Why was it returned inwards for May 13? Because it stated that sent a credit note for 360 to Anil. So remember one, and it says that it is because of the damage condition of the goods, right? So if it is that as a customer, as a debtor, you buy some goods and you get, for some reason, they're damaged, right? You're sending back the goods now to the company, because remember, we're looking at the company. So once the company is getting back the goods, it would be considered return inwards. So customer returning goods, return inwards. If the company now is returning the goods that you purchased to the supplier, it would be considered return outwards. Okay, sir?
All right, so Miss, in the question it stated that Annie or Anil sent back a $200 credit note because of damaged goods. So that only means that she kept
360, 360.
Yeah, 360. That only means that she kept the goods.
That means what? Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
She kept the goods, but sent back a credit note because some of them were damaged.
Yeah, man. So you would receive as a customer, say you were Anil, right? And you get some goods and you paid $5,000. When you check your goods, you realize that $360 worth is damaged. You're not going to want to pay that $360. So therefore, the company now write you a credit note to say, okay, here is the $360. But I was also explaining, just to add to this, that some companies will give you back the cash. Others will just give you a credit note to say, okay, hey, if you come back, you can have this 360 to get some goods. Understand?
Miss, it look like a mix of back one, Miss.
Pardon me?
Miss, it look like you realize Anil account to Miss. Same thing of the company.
Yeah, I'm making.
I am not hearing, sorry.
Miss, may I say like him thinks that the company account with the right of Miss.
You're breaking up, sir. Can you just type it in the chat because you're in and out, so I can hardly hear what you're saying. So type it in the chat.
Miss?
Hello, go ahead now.
You hear me now, Miss?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Miss, may I say it look like the company account him think with the right of Miss.
The company account him right up?
Miss, him think that with the right of.
No, man, we're looking at Anil's account, you know. Remember that it stated that Anil is a debtor who owes Metro Trading. So Metro Trading is the company. So you're saying that he probably thought we're writing up the company's account?
Yes, Miss.
Oh, no, man, we're looking at Anil's account. So remember, he would have been a customer to Metro Trading. All right, thanks for that. So that's why. So you understand now why it is returned inwards for the person who asked the question?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions, guys, before we move on?
No, Miss.
No, awesome. So we can now move on. So let me just go ahead now and look at the next part to the question. So if it is that you didn't get to snap the picture of this, you can just quickly go ahead and do that so I can now stop sharing this screen and go ahead and go back to the question. All right.
Yeah, I did do this.
You did this question before?
Yeah.
I heard somebody said they did the question before. Okay. All right, so let me just go back to the question now. And that is it with accounts, guys. Even if you did the question before, the more you practice, the better it is for you. All right. Sure. All right. So this is the next part of the question. I'm hoping that you can see it clearly.
You can barely see that.
And this is just a 4 marks question. All right.
Yes, I can zoom in a little, please.
Yeah, man. I'm going to do that. Just
Yeah,
give me a
watch it.
second.
Yeah, watch that one over there. No, because.
Is it a little better? Let me just read it for you guys. Is it better? All right, so it states here, in the spaces provided, state the name of the ledger in which each of the 4 accounts listed below will be found. So they gave you the account. Remember, if you're not asking a question, I'm just going to ask you to just keep your microphones muted, please. All right. All right, so we have here the account Anil, a credit customer. Which ledger account would we record this information in?
Excuse me, Miss.
Sales ledger.
The sales ledger, very good. The person who just said, excuse me, is it a question that you're asking?
The answer.
You're telling me the answer. Okay, very good. So yes, it is the sales ledger. So you can just go ahead and write in the sales ledger. So just a table that you're writing up. As you can see, it's just 4 marks. So each of your correct answer is just a mark. All right. The next part to the question, the next account, purchases returns. Which ledger account?
General ledger.
The general ledger. Very good, very good. What about discounts allowed?
General ledger.
The general ledger as well. And for cash?
Cash book.
Cash book.
I know most of you would say cash book, but we
general
consider
ledger.
it to be the general ledger as well. All right. So it would be that as well. So let me just go over for persons who probably missed it. So for Anila credit customer, it's the sales ledger. For purchases returns, you know that's the general ledger. For discounts as well, it would have been in the general ledger. And for cash, also general ledger. All right, any questions? All right, so we can just continue. As I mentioned before, this is just really 4 marks. So it's just for you to just put in the information, all right? So let us now look at the next part of the question, which is that they're asking you to do an updated trial balance, all right? For persons who probably don't know, we're looking at the 2021 paper from last year for June. And remember that we're basically focusing on the topics that CXC would have sent out. So we're looking at the ledger question for this, from this particular paper, all right? Okay, so let me just try to pull out, and then we can go back. All right, so this is the next part to the question now. The bookkeeper extracted the following list of balances from Metro Trading's ledger, 31st May 2021. All right, so let's see what the instruction is asking us. The following additional information is available, and you'd have a little footnote here. So you have the table here with all the ledger information, the amount and so forth, and then they have some footnote down here. And let's see what they're asking us to do. They said that you're going to use the form provided below to prepare an adjusted trial balance from Metro Trading at 31st May 2021. So we all know what a trial balance is. Can somebody just refresh your memories? Remember, if you're not asking a question, keep your microphones muted, please. All right, so can somebody just quickly remind us what is a trial balance?
Yes, it is used to check the arithmetical or the arithmetic accuracy of the ledgers.
Very good. So we can safely say that we have to ensure that we do up our ledger accounts before we go to the trial balance, because it's from the ledger accounts that we're going to basically put in the information in our trial balance. The balance brought down, of course, all right? So that's what we're gonna do. So what I'm gonna ask you to do now, because I'm gonna be doing the question with you right now, quickly just snap the picture so that you can have the information, all right? So I can share the screen, because I don't just want to talk. I want to literally write it as what I just did so that persons can view, all right? So just take the picture so that you can have the information, and then I'm gonna just open up the Word document and do it with you guys.
Can you scroll to the additional information so I can see it?
We'll just give a couple more seconds to do that.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead with your question there.
Miss, you said that most of us would say that cash is supposed to go in the cash book. Would that be incorrect if we wrote cash book instead of the general?
To be honest, with CXC, if it is that you write cash book, you would be correct, all right? because cash book is in the general ledger. All right, just letting you know. Okay.
Yes, miss. And one more thing.
Yes.
Miss,
go
you
ahead.
said that purchase returns should go in the general ledger. But my
Right.
teacher said it should go in the purchases ledger.
But where do you see the purchases ledger? Where do you record the purchases ledger? Isn't it a part of the general ledger? So again, if it is that you have purchases ledger, I'm not telling you that you're incorrect. You understand what I'm saying? But normally we look for the specific answers. So if it is that the purchases ledger is recorded in the general ledger, that would have been what they looked for. But it's not that you're incorrect. Understand?
Yes, miss.
Okay. All right, so let me just go ahead now and open up the Word document. So I'm hoping that you would have this information because we're gonna go and do the question now. All right, so that would have been for the first part. Let me just go ahead and put the information here now. What are the categories for trial balance again? What headings are we going to put here? Can somebody tell me?
Miss the details.
We put the name of the account, you have your debit column, and you have your credit column. But we need to put in the title for our trial balance. What is the title? Can somebody quickly tell me the title? Coming from the
Miss,
question.
Metro Trading trial balance as at 31st of May 2021.
Very good. So that's Metro Trading trial balance. Okay.
Miss, are you sharing your screen?
Yes, I'm about to do that. All right. Just give me 1 second.
Miss?
Yes, go ahead.
Joins is a liability, right?
Sorry, go again.
Would joins be considered a liability?
Why would it be a liability? Can you tell me why you think that?
Well, the owner would be withdrawing goods or money from the company.
Good for their personal use. Don't forget that.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So if it is that they're withdrawing money, yes, it would be a liability. But you're talking from this question, right? Or is just a general question?
Just a general question.
Okay, yes, there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let us just continue here. So Metro Trading, trial balance. For those persons who can go ahead and do it, that would be good. Because remember, practice makes permanent. And we normally, because they're asking you for the adjustment, so I normally put amendment, all right? To let them know that, okay, they did a trial balance before, but there were some errors with the trial balance, so therefore we're adjusting it or we're amending it. And the year is 2021. Okay, awesome. So the very first information that we have here is for sales. What balance do we normally record for sales? Is it a debit balance or a credit balance? To record that now on the credit side. So let's put the name of the account. And what's the amount for sales figure?
Miss 565,870.
Very good. All right. And the next account here is that of inventory. Which column are we going to record the information here for inventory?
Miss debit.
Debit. Why we have why we're recording it on the debit side?
It's because inventory is the goods that you have.
It's inventory is
It's
assets.
breaking up. I can hardly hear her. Go again, sorry.
Asset.
So you know,
I didn't hear you, sorry. Can you just repeat for me, please?
Wherever.
An asset.
It's an asset, very good. And you know that assets normally carry a debit balance. So that's what I want to hear coming out, all right? So once it's an asset, you know assets normally carry a debit balance.
It's just join here, I'm just join.
So that's 35,800. Okay, and the next account, remember, once you're not asking a question, I'm going to ask you to just mute your microphones, please.
Miss purchases.
Purchases, miss, which is debited. Debited, yes.
Marathon.
Purchases is debited, okay.
Yeah,
Let's just put in that information. I'm sorry, guys, if I really can't check the chat, but I'm trying no one again to go and look at what's there. So purchases, what's the amount for purchases?
230,000.
200 and how much?
30,000.
234,000.
I'm hearing 230 and I'm hearing 234. So
You said
let me hear from the person
230,000,
who said
Miss.
234. Why is it 234?
234.
Right. So
Yeah,
why is
wanna-
it 234? Let's
230,000.
let us just explain why.
If there's a footnote.
There's a footnote. Very good. Remember, guys, remember I mentioned that you have the information, and then beneath that you have some footnotes right there. So you have additional information. And if you check the additional information, it stated purchases of 4,000 made on the 31st of May had not been posted in the purchases account. So if it is that they omitted
Drawing is money you take out of the business for personal use. Nigga.
hold on,
Come here.
guys, remember if it is that you're not answering the question, I'm asking you again to just mute yourselves. All right, so we're looking at the purchases figure because person saying 230, which would have been in the old trial balance information there, and remember we're adjusting.
I'll be 234.
So
Yeah,
the
add it.
4,000 that we didn't put in the account, we have to now add it to the 230 because remember we're
And get
adjusting.
34,000.
So that gives you
Yeah.
the 234,000. All right, for the purchase. Any questions on that one?
No, miss.
Okay, good.
It's
What's the next account?
It's when you're writing for the sales, must you indent?
If you're when you're writing the sales, no, you only do
Sorry,
this
not sales,
really.
credit, for the credit transaction. Must you
No,
indent?
you only do this when you're doing journal entries.
Okay.
But you indent for the debit entry though, because remember that would have been credit, but you write the debit entry first. So that would have been for your journal, not for the trial balance. All right. Okay, so we are on now to sales returns. But what I'm gonna do for purchases for persons, just gonna put in the information so you know how we get the 234. So let me just go ahead and do that. So the 230 coming from the old information. Plus
Yeah, I did you.
the 4,000 that we
No,
saw
but you said-
in the footnote, all right?
Yeah, for read the question, understanding like I said, purchases are for the need.
Guys,
on
I
the
can
30.
hear you, you're not muted. I know you're working together, but you're not muted, all right? So that's how we end up with the 234 there. Okay, what about sales returns? That's the next one.
Would that be debited?
Debited. Sales returns, why is it debited? We see the word sales.
Because
It would
you're
be
returning
credited.
goods to you.
It's because, yeah.
Go again.
Because they are returning the goods to you, the business.
And it's an asset, and remember, assets carry a debit balance.
Debit
all right?
balance.
Very good, because that's what I want you to understand. Why is it that you record this amount on the debit side versus the credit
It's when I
side, or on
increase
the
the
credit
asset to
side
carry a
versus
debit
debit?
balance.
Right. All right, so we're going to put, how much is it for sales returns here? 3,000.
Yes, miss.
And what's the other account?
Carriage inward.
Trade receivables.
Trade. You miss out one man. Trade
sorry.
receivables. All right, trade receivables. All right. Which side are we gonna try this on?
It's debit.
On the debit side, and how much is the total? So you know this is asset as well.
It's 45,700.
45,700.
Thank you. All right, and the next account?
Miss carriage inward.
Carriage inwards.
Carriage inwards.
It's debit.
Is on the debit side. This is carry a debit. And that?
Miss non-current assets.
Current assets.
Non-current assets. All right. Which side do we record this information on?
The
It's
credit.
debit.
Debit.
The debit side, why?
Because it's
an asset, miss.
Yes, it's a long-term asset.
Go again, please.
Miss, because if it's not current assets, miss means it's fixed assets. Assets on the debit side.
It's an asset because it says non-current assets, and as we explained earlier, you know that assets carry a debit balance. All right. How much is it again?
Miss 527,200.
200. Awesome. All right. And what's the next
Discount
one?
received.
discount received. I'm hoping that you guys are doing it while I'm here doing it, all right, in your books, because remember, it's all about practicing. All right, so we have a footnote here, I think, for discount received. What is it saying?
The total of
the total of 5,900 in the discounts allowed column in the cash book had been credited to the discounts received account in the ledger. So there was an error here. They mixed it up and they put the wrong information in the wrong account. All right. So how is it that we're going to correct this, and which side do we record discount received on?
Correct it by doing it on the debit side.
We credit, Norma, hold
Discount
on.
received is credit because it's an income.
Discount received, very good. But is it that we're going to put, how much is it that they have? The 8,500. Is it that the figure that we're gonna put? No, what is gonna be the figure then?
Miss 2,600.
How did we arrive at the 2,600?
Added the amount.
Subtract the 5,900.
So the 8,500
subtract 5,900.
that they initially had, right? Remember that there was an error for the 5,900 that we recorded in the discount received. So in order for us to correct that, we now have to minus the 5,900 from that 8,500. So this is now the correct figure that should be recorded in your discount received account. So it's not the 8,500, because remember, there was an error in recording the transaction. Any questions on this one, guys? Okay, awesome. So what is the next account?
Miss discount allowed.
Discount allowed. And which side do we record this on?
Miss the debit side.
The debit side, very good. So what's the figure now that we're gonna put for our discount allowed? If you realize, before you give me the figure, hold on. If you realize, in the old trial balance that they have here, the listing, there was no mention of discount allowed. Can you tell me why? And why is it that we're recording it now?
Miss, it was placed in this.
Miss, it was placed in the footnote.
It was placed in the footnote, yes, but it was not in the list that they showed us because we entered that figure wrongfully in the received account. Very good. So now we have to correct it to ensure that our trial balance is amended. So that is why we now have it there. Because persons would be like, but miss, I don't see it on the list in there. There's no discount allowed. So why are we putting it there? So that's the reason. But what is the total?
Mr. 5,900.
The 5,900. Very good on the debit side. Awesome. So go ahead.
Miss, can I ask you, what are you looking at, Miss?
What am I looking at? Oh, you probably just joined. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I shared the question and I asked persons to just take the picture of it because I wanted to be doing it while we're discussing. You understand? So what you're seeing now is really the answer. But I shared the question. The paper is 2021. That's the paper that we're looking at. All right?
Yes, Miss. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So for discount allowed, we recorded that information. What's the next account that we have here?
Miss trade payables.
Trade payables. Awesome. All
Miss,
right.
that are credit.
Credited, Miss.
Credited, yes. Why, sir? Tell me why you're crediting this one.
Because Miss trade payables is also called accounts payable.
All right. And accounts payable is credit has a credit balance. Very good. Next account.
Bank overdraft.
It's bank overdraft.
Bank overdraft. Okay. Bank overdraft is credited, yes. Why?
Yes, miss.
Because it's a liability.
It's a liability, awesome. And how much is the bank overdraft?
27,000.
It's 27,000.
27,000, very good. And the next account?
It's the 7% bank loan.
The 7% bank loan. Where do we record this?
It is a liability. So
It is a liability.
It's a long-term liability.
The credit, very good. Very good that you know the categories, awesome. All right, so we have the 7% bank loan. And the amount is 87,000. Thank you. Hope everybody is following thus far. Remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so what's the next information now we have is drawings. Yes,
Is an expense, so debited.
Drawings is an expense, yes. And it would be because somebody asked a question earlier based on the explanation as a liability. But remember, drawings is considered to be money or resources that you take from the business for your personal use, right? It has nothing to do with the business transactions, all right? So what is drawings doing to the capital figure? Anybody knows?
Miss decreasing.
It's
Decreasing capital.
It's decreasing the capital figure there, all right? How much is it for drawings?
13,000.
13,000. Okay. Next account?
Miscellaneous
Capital
expense.
Carlos.
All right, so we have capital Carlos Metro. Which side do we record this on?
Credit.
Isn't that at the end?
The credit side. Okay, no, capital have a credit balance, all right? So the Carlos Metro, we put that information as well. How much is it? That is 145,600. All right, next information.
Miscellaneous expenses.
Miss, but why did the capital come before it?
It's credit, Miss, because it is an expense that pay
Miscellaneous,
to.
very, very good. And as the word is on it, expense. So that's a giveaway. And remember, expenses normally carry a debit balance, all right? So we have miscellaneous expense.
Yes, Miss.
Is it for the miscellaneous?
It's 15,670.
Thank you. 15,670. And I think we have one more. What's the final one?
It's purchases
return.
return.
Purchases return. And where do we record purchases return?
Miss, I think you should put it over the right. Miss, over the right at the credit side for the miscellaneous expense.
Pardon me? The miscellaneous expense is debited, man.
Oh.
Yeah, man. Remember, you just tell, no, you say once that it's an expense and expenses carry debit balance.
Yeah, I missed it.
So it should be on the, okay, no problem. It should be on the debit side. All right, and we have purchases returns. How much is it for purchases returns?
Credit
3,400. Very good. So this would have been all the information that we need to amend, that we need to adjust. So all we need to do now is just to balance off your trial balance. Remember, in everything that you're doing with accounts, you have to balance off, all right? So we know that, okay, this is the figure for the ending of the financial period. So how we balance off, all we need to do is just to add up our total for the debit side, add up our total for the credit side, and then you put the total, all right? Go ahead. Can somebody just quickly do the totals and tell me?
Miss, someone is asking. 870.
Go ahead. Somebody.
Miss, someone in the chat is asking. Someone in the chat is asking why capital is placed on the trade balance before the last.
Let me just check the chat. Give me a second. Let me check. It's normally placed last on the balance sheet. Oh, so you're telling me that you're asking why is it that I put capital before the other two? That's the question, right?
Yes,
it's not
yeah,
man, it's not correct or incorrect once you know that you put them on the correct side. So that is the most important thing. You understand? So even though I have capital before the others, instead of having it at the end, you're still correct. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, miss.
Right. So once you have it on the correct heading, that is what they're looking for. All right. So can you give me the total now? So I think somebody have the total.
Miss 880 to 870.
Okay, thank you very much there. So let me just put the totals here. So it's 882,870. And that's for the debit and the credits. As you can see now, our trial balance is actually balanced, and we updated all the information that they asked us to do. So we know that this is the amended trial balance for Metro Trading. All right. So this would have been the end for your amended trial balance.
Second period.
I'm going to do that so you guys can see. So let me just finish with the total. All right. So there we go. So let me just bring it up a little more so you can see from the heading there, from the top. Let me know when I can just bring it down to the remaining two. All right. So if you guys take pictures.
Miss.
Yes, go ahead.
Miss, in the meantime, could you just explain one more time why discount received is the credit side?
Discount received is on the credit side. Do you understand what discount received is?
Miss, because the business are give out the discount to the customer, miss. So
The
when it a come
business-
out,
The
yes, when it a
business,
come out, it have a credit.
the business is giving the discount to the customer. So
Yes.
that's the part I heard. I didn't hear the ending, sorry.
He said off the credit, yes, that's right.
But she's I don't
It's not
think she
taking your money.
still understand. So explaining that using the accounting terminology, because I know you understand based on what you just said, but I want you to explain so she can understand better. Go again.
Somebody
For
else
this-
give that back.
No man, you can do it, or somebody else can take over, because I know you guys know the answer.
Miss, can I try?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
One question before the person starts to explain. Discount allowed, isn't that the discount that the business gives its customer?
Discount allowed?
Or is it the other way around?
Miss, discount allowed is what them give to the customer, and the person who get the discount means is discount
Is
received for them.
receiving. That is why I want you to explain based on you're looking at having a company, right? And you're selling goods. So I don't just want you to say this is what customers get, this is what the company gives. I want you to explain in such a way that I can better understand that, okay, you're talking about a customer, you're talking about a supplier, but why is it that we're crediting? Why is it that we're debiting? Using your accounting terminologies that you would know. So let me hear the explanations now. The difference between discount received and discount allowed. Go ahead.
So I can carry down the page.
Okay. All right, the person was going to respond. Go ahead. Discount received, discount allowed.
Miss, discount received is a revenue item.
You're very low there. Can you just speak up a little?
Miss, discount received is a revenue. All the items which received at the end is considered as revenues. Revenues are normally credited, so they normally carry a credit balance.
For the discount received.
Yes, miss.
Right. So hold on. Let me just put in the information so that the person asked can better understand. So remember now that discount received is really you getting a decrease in price, right? And this is received by the buyer of the goods. You understand?
Miss.
So it's the buyer of the goods that basically get the discount.
Repeat, miss.
received.
Miss,
Yes, go ahead there.
the discount received is an income to the buyer, right, miss?
Yes, sir. So you're basically the buyer. And who is the buyer? The customer right here. So whoever is buying the goods, they are getting the discount received. And whoever is selling the goods is allowing the discount. Hence, discount allow is debited. The company is allowing the discount to the customer. And remember,
Yes,
the
the
customer
manufacturer,
is the
them give
buyer.
discount allowed.
The manufacturer is what, sir?
Miss, me ask if I them give like a discount allowed, miss.
Well,
to
not
do-
necessarily only the manufacturer, because remember the manufacturer would be the person who basically create the goods, you understand? But normally you have retail, you have wholesale. So it depends on the amount of goods and so forth, and you really want to make sale, you want to make profit. You understand, sir? So it's not only the manufacturer.
All right, miss, thanks.
So anybody will sell, miss?
So anybody who is selling, so if it's a case where you realize that you have some inventory, and as a retailer, as a wholesaler, you realize that it's in the business for a long time, you're not making any money on it, so you decide that, okay, then let me just give a 2% discount. Remember, you're not giving a whole of 50%, because you have to bear in mind that you can't just give a 50% discount, because probably you won't make enough money. But we're talking about just giving like a 2% discount so that persons can come in and buy out your goods then, so that you can basically have cash. So instead of just having the inventory in there and it's not using, you're basically getting the cash. So it's really not a losing situation, because if you look at it, it would be on the shelf just the same. You understand?
Yes, miss.
Guys?
Miss,
So
it
for the
answers-
person who asked, just remember that for the discount received, this is really the buyer getting it, and the company is allowing it, so discount allowed. All right. Somebody's marking on the screen. I wonder who that is. All right. Yeah. Anybody else with a question?
Yeah. So miss,
Go-
both of them
go
have the same
ahead.
value?
Go ahead, sir.
Miss, may I ask if both discount receive and allowed have the same value?
If it's going to be the same value,
Yeah.
what do you mean if it's going to be the same value? In the question?
No, like generally.
No, remember, sir, you're looking
Miss.
at it if it is a case where I am the company and you're the buyer and I say, okay, I'm going to give you a 2%, right? It's coming from my end, I'm basically giving you, so discount allowed 2%. As the buyer now, you're basically getting a discount of 2% just the same. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah, but the buyer would be receiving the discount.
Right, the buyer would be receiving the discount. All right. And the company is allowing the discount.
Yeah.
So that's really the play on where discount allow the company allowing it. And you, the person who is buying the product, you're getting it, so you're receiving it. All right. All right. Anybody else with any other question? No other question before we go on? Okay. All right then. So we can safely say that we would have completed that question there. So we can then move on to the final part of that question, because I want to look at a limited liability question. I think somebody asked that question. Yes, I do have a limited liability question that I'm going to share with you guys. All right, so let me just go ahead now, stop sharing this. Hope you guys snap the picture. Yes, so I'm going to stop sharing and then go to the next question.
Miss, can you please scroll up a little bit?
Go up to the top?
Yes, please.
All right, let me just do that for you. All right, there we go.
Thank
Are you
you.
through?
Yes, miss.
All right, no problem. All right, let me just stop sharing. Let me go back to the question. All right, do we have any questions while I'm looking for the paper? Is everybody okay so far? You're not okay or you're okay?
We are okay.
So I'm okay.
You're okay. Okay, awesome. Let me just look for the question. So we're just gonna
Miss,
this part.
just to be clear, miscellaneous expense. Could I just give me a quick little explanation on it?
What is it?
Yeah, please.
What is miscellaneous? All right, so normally in businesses, we normally establish the different expenses that we might incur, but remember that you're writing up your financial statements. And I know you know about budgeting and so forth, right? But when you're writing up your expenses, you want to say, okay, if it is that, for example, we need to repair a machine and we didn't have that per se, at the end, we can say that we put down 20,000 for any additional expense that we might incur. So even though we never say it's a machine that we're going to have an expense for, it's under miscellaneous. You can take the amount from that to repair the machine. You understand?
Yes, Mr. Oh, like when I create a budget, I know miscellaneous expense would be like money set aside to like in case of
for anything that comes up like emergency. You understand?
Thank you, Miss.
Yeah, man, no problem. All right, let me go ahead now and share the screen. Not sure what's happening here. Computer is moving a little slow. Sorry about that. Technology, I tell you. All right, should be fine. All right, are you guys seeing it now?
I see it load for me. I can see it now, Miss.
Loading? Okay, okay. All right, awesome. All right, so can I just have one person just quickly read through these transactions for us, please? Remember, you can just take the picture of it, all right?
Miss, my just
All right, go ahead.
Edward is a sole proprietor who owns and operates Sundale Enterprise. The following transactions occurred in March 2021. So on March 1st, Marcella, a credit customer, owes Sundale Enterprise $4,800. On March 17, Sundale receives a check of $1,300 from Marcella for part payment on her account. On March 31st, Edward learns that Marcella has ceased trading and the remainder of receivable from Marcella is not collectible. Edward authorizes a write-off of the balance owed. Use the information to prepare journal entries to record the transactions in Sundale Enterprises books.
All All right,
ma'am.
thank you very much. So as you can see that they didn't ask you for any narrative, so you don't have to write. You know, you'd normally write a little explanation based on what's happening in the journal. You don't have to do that here. All right, so let us just quickly fill in the information here for the general journal now. So for the very first one, Marcelo, a credit customer, owes Sundale Enterprises 4,800. Is it that we're going to record this information in the general journal?
What, miss?
Is it that we're going to record this information in the general journal? So
No,
the
Miss,
first of
because the name of a person.
one person just respond, please. Why is it that we're not recording it?
Miss, because it is a name of a person.
It's
No,
a
it's
name
not
of a
that.
person?
Mistake, sorry, Miss.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Miss, would it come in its own personal account?
Would normally open the different ledger accounts for this information. All right. So we're talking about Marcella, credit customer who owes Sundale Enterprise 4,800. So this information would not be recorded. It's not going to affect the general journal here because we need to open the different personal accounts as you mentioned earlier. But what about March 17?
Yes, Miss.
How is it that we would record this information in the general journal?
Miss Bank.
Yes,
And
bank is
Marcella.
affected and Marcella. So the very first thing you want to know for the general journal, what are the two accounts that are affected? And if the information should be recorded in the general journal. But can you explain to me though, can one person explain to me what sort of transactions do we normally record in the general journal? Anybody remember?
It's like expenses, capital assets, like those you're talking.
Go again, you were breaking up, sorry.
Miss, the writing of Miss, like purchases,
Guys, you're
returns,
breaking up.
and
I'm not sure if
Purchases and
you're
sales.
hearing me. All right, I'm not sure, but I'm not hearing anything. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, Miss, we are hearing you. Yes, Miss.
Okay, good. I'm hearing you now. So can you just go ahead now, explain to me what type of information do we normally record in the general journal? Who is responding?
So
Hello?
the record like everything else that is not in like the purchases journal, sales journal,
Or the sales journal. So everything else. Okay, very good. And what you would record in the cash book as well. Okay, very good. All right. So you said that we have two accounts here, affected bank and Marcella, as it mentioned.
Before you move on.
Yes, there.
Miss, for March 1st. Miss, did it say anything for March 1st?
No, man, this is the individual account. So this is not affected in the general journal. All right.
Okay.
Right. Because remember, this is really selling and you're not recording this information here. So Sundale Enterprise received a check of 1,300. Yes, person mentioned bank and Marcelo, but which account is debiting and which account is crediting? Because remember, that's the information that we record in our general journal. If it is debit or credit.
It's bank debited and
Bank
Marcella
is debited and Marcelo is credited. And for that person earlier who asked me if it is that you indent, this is where you indent.
Yeah, this is where, yeah.
Right, so this is the general journal. So you would normally record bank, that is debited, so you normally record the debited account first, and then you indent for the credited account, all right?
Yes, miss.
So in the information here, where you have details, I know you're not seeing, and I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. Are you seeing it?
Yes, miss, we can.
Okay, awesome. So we have details here. You just put in the date for March 17 over here, and then you would put bank and put it on the debit, which is $1,300. And then you move away a little in the next line and you put Marcelo, and that goes to the credit. So go ahead and do that for me, please.
Say would start with June for March 1st, Miss, not June.
No, man, remember I just explained to you that March 1st is not affected in the general journal.
Okay, so
What I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, normally what they do when they ask you like a general journal question, at times they will put transactions there that you should not record in the general journal just to see if it is that you're understanding what to do. All right? Okay, guys?
Yes, miss.
Right, so it's for you to choose which one you record there. So definitely for March 1st, that is also from, you'd normally record, open the individual accounts there. So for March 17 now, you just record the information.
Miss.
Yes, go ahead.
Miss, so suppose it wasn't a general journal, right? And they just told us to draw up the journal. Would we include March 1st?
Go again, if two of them have the general journal.
No, miss, I was saying if it was not a general journal, and they
Yes.
told us to draw up a journal, would we put March 1st?
Yeah, if it's not a general journal, then you would record March 1st in that information. All right.
Okay.
Right. But because we're looking at the broad one, which is the general journal, you have to ensure that, okay, you record if it is sales purchase, if it's not sales purchases, that you get money immediately. All right.
Miss.
Yes, sir.
Miss, how you know when it is not a general journal?
Oh, I thought you heard earlier. So remember, for the general journal, this is normally the place where you enter all transactions first. So all the items, such as your purchases or sales, any information coming from purchases or sales journal. So anything outside of that transactions, you normally put over to your general journal. All right, so you know your purchases journal, this would be bought goods and credit. You know your sales journals, this would be sold goods and credit. So you have different journals for those. So you have a purchases different from your sales, you have a return inwards and outwards as well, right? So anything outside of that information, you would put over to your general journal.
When you do a sales journal, you get all the balance, final balance, like a balance brought down. You record in a general journal too, miss.
No, man. Remember, you would have the sales journal different from the general journal, right? So it's not a case where you're combining, no, like when you're doing the control accounts, all right? So it's not a case where you're combining the totals, all right?
Miss?
Yes, go ahead there.
Transactions like return inwards and outwards don't go in the general journal.
Yeah, man, at times, that's why I'm telling you, it depends on how they actually ask the transactions, you know. So I can't tell you yes or no, because sometimes, as I stated before, they normally set it in such a way that sometimes, okay, depending on a word or so forth, depending on the transactions, it should be recorded, all right? But once you realize that in a transactions, okay, this is credit on sale, this is sales that you're selling on credit, so you know this is for the sales journal. So once you know them differently, you know that, okay, everything that you check off, then whatever is left, you know, it's general journal there, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
So your asset sales, depreciation, your interest expense, all of those things would be in the general journal per se, all right?
Miss, there's a quick question to the person that asks about the general journal. For example, I don't know if you can understand how I talk, but like for like them like give you a question, then them ask you to put it like, for example, you're working with two accounts, so one that in sales and you're working with purchases. So you're to put purchases and sales, like you're to credit the purchases in the sales. And then for the purchases account, you're going to debit the sales, if it's something like that. Depends on the question though.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying, but I hope the person understand that you're debiting purchases and crediting sales, all right?
Yeah, and then you'll just put like everything in the general journal. Something like that you're talking?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So what journal would that go, with March 1 going, miss?
What journal?
Yeah.
Where would we record March 1st? Marcella credit customer owes Sunday. Sales journal. Very good, because we're selling it. This person is a customer. So that's what I'm explaining. Understand? So once it is that we're selling on credit, then you know that this is for sales. What if it stated that Sundale Enterprise bought some goods from Marcella?
Purchases journal.
Purchases, very good. So that would have been purchases. Yes, sir.
Write down value in that part, miss, would have going a trial balance, miss, if it T account no equal out.
Go again. Sorry, what would go in the trial balance?
Missy brought down number what he got, Missy. That would go in the trial balance, Missy.
The brought down figure would go in the trial balance. I'm not sure what exactly you're asking.
No, me just said that, miss.
Yeah, man. Oh, okay. So you're talking about the balancing out. So the brought down would go to the trial balance. So whichever side the balance brought down is on, then that's the side you record it in the trial balance. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying, sir?
Yes.
Yes, miss.
Okay, sir. Awesome. All right, very good. All right. I realize, and what I really love, I realize that you guys can link the topic, and that is very important in accounts. All right. So we can now move on to the 31st of March. Do we record this information?
Yes, Miss.
General journal? Yes,
Yes,
we
Miss.
do. So what are the two accounts?
Miss
For
Bad Debt
bad debts and
Marcella.
Marcella.
Bad debts and Marcella. So yes. But before you write that information though, what are bad debts? Can anybody tell me?
Miss Bad that cannot be paid off, Miss probably person die, person got a
Miss, or if the person go bankrupt.
bankruptcy.
All right, I heard the first part and the ending, but I didn't hear the middle. So bad debts are things. That's what you said?
Miss, bad debts are debts that can't be paid off. So for instance, a person is bankrupt or passed away, Miss.
Okay, or the person dies. Okay, so you basically can't get that. So we can then say that this is going to be an expense to who then?
The person who is owed.
The person who is owed, so the company then. So if it is that you have a customer and the customer for some reason go bankruptcy and they owe you $1 million, that means that for your business, unfortunately, your expense is going to be additional $1 million. So that is bad debt written off. All right. So yes, so for bad debt, which side do we record bad debts? Which side do we record Marcella?
This is bad debts or
Debit.
Debit,
Debit
bad
and
debt.
Marcella
Right there. Very good, very good. So in date, you'd put the 31st of March. For the details, remember, which one do we record first
The
again,
debit
guys? Debit or
one.
credit?
Debit.
The
Debit.
debit. So bad debt is debited. So we record the bad debts written off, and the total is 3,500. And then we go to the next line, indent, move away a little, Marcella, and we put 3,500. All righty. So that is it for this part of the question, and it's for 4 marks right there. And we have one last part to the question, and this is just some simple calculation. All right. So this is talking about provision for doubtful debts. So at the end of the financial year, on the 30th of April 2021, Sundale Enterprise has trade receivables of 32,700 and a provision for doubtful debts of $1,170. Edward estimates that 3% of these receivables will become uncollectible. So therefore, them know say, all right, we're not going to get 3% of this. So what they're asking you to do then is to calculate the amount required for adjusting the provision for doubtful debts amount at the end of the financial year. So if we look, we realize that the initial amount is 32,700, but they stated that there is an estimate 3% that we're going to get for the receivables. All right. So how is it that we're going to calculate the new provision? What calculation do we do for the new provision? Because the old one is 32,700. What is now the new provision?
You're going to find 3% of the 32,700.
Find 3% of the 32,700. Very good. And that gives us how much? $981. So let me just ask you guys to just write that in. So you have new provision. So just write the words new provision equal, and you have 3% of the 32,700, and the answer is $981. But what is the existing provision? Look at the question.
You're going to.
What's the existing provision? It's at the top. What's the existing provision?
The 1,170.
Yes, right. So the $1,170 is the existing provision. But remember, we basically got a 3% discount on what was there before, the amount for receivables. So we said that it's 981. So this is the new one now, 981. The old one is 1,170. The difference here is that the old one was more than the new provision, right? So what's the difference between both of them?
It's 189.
189. So the adjusting amount now, because remember that's what they're asking you to do, you know, calculate the amount required for adjusting the provision for doubtful debts. That's what they're asking you to do at the end of the financial year. So based on the information here, you would basically calculate the 3%, and we just did that, which is the 981. And then you know the existing one, which is the 1,170. And all you need to do is just to do your subtraction. And the new one now, which is the adjusting amount, that's what the question asks you for, is the $189. That is it for this question. Are there any questions?
What you say, miss? Can you repeat
Are
that,
there
please,
any
miss?
questions? Do you understand what we just did?
Miss, can you repeat that, miss?
What should I repeat exactly?
Miss, that's something I miss. I didn't get
No,
anything
man,
else
I am
earlier.
saying that in the question, all they're asking you to do is to calculate the adjusting provision amount. So they would have given you the trade receivables, which is the 32,700, and they gave you the existing provision for doubtful debts, which is the 1,170. But later down in the question, they said that there's an estimate of 3% on the trade receivables. You understand? And we just did the calculation for the 3%, which is the new provision, and that's $981. So if you plug in the figures in your calculator, 3% of 32,700, you would get 981. So that's no new provision. You understand? And then the existing, you just minus the new from the existing.
Miss.
Go ahead.
So in the starting, miss, them I say out of the 32,700, we most likely now get back 1,170. But now they won't be at it, miss.
And then you
so
need to update it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So out of that 1,178, the adjustment is the 89, sorry. Okay?
In all, we're not going to get back the 189.
Sorry, miss, I didn't hear you.
Miss, so are they saying in all we're not going to get back the 189?
Very good, because this is the provisions that we're not going to get. So instead of the 1,170, we're basically just not going to get the 189. So this is gonna be an expense. All right. And then if you realize, guys, this is just a 2 marks question. And then finally, we have a 1 mark question here that they're asking you just for the ledger account for the provision for doubtful debt. All you need to put in, because they didn't ask you for a thorough thing, because it's just a 1 mark, and that's what I want you to understand. Check the mark before you go ahead and do certain things, because I don't want you to waste time doing what they didn't ask you for. All right, but I want you to ensure that you answer the question. So for this part of the question, they're asking you to do the provision for doubtful debts account, the ledger account now. So based on the information that we had up here, we know that the balance at start for the provision was 1,170. All right. So therefore, we can safely put in the account now, the information. But which side do we record the balance for provision for doubtful debts? Is it debited or credited?
Debit.
Debit side. Why on the debit side? The balance for provision for doubtful debts, Remember, provision for doubtful debts is different from bad debts written off.
Yes, it should go on the credit side.
Why you put it on the credit side? I don't want you to just say credit side because I say it's not debited.
The provision, miss.
It is provision.
It says a profit and loss.
Pardon me?
Profit and loss, miss.
Profit and loss.
Yes. But what about it? Explain.
Because it's a reduction, miss. So,
it's a reduction.
So when there's a reduction in the reduction, miss, you put it on the debit side, the profit and loss on the debit side, thing.
The profit and loss, I realize what you said, the profit and loss debited, but remember the other account now would have been provision for doubtful debt, so you would have normally credited the amount, all right? Because remember, you're still doing double entry now, guys. So once you debit one, you credit one. Once you credit one, you debit one, all right? So over to the credit side, you have balance at start. And this is just really an extra that they're asking you for, because it's just really 1 mark. So balance at start, 1,170. And then if you realize, so there was no date. So the date is really not important, just for you to just put balance at start, 1,170 on the credit. And then over to the debit side now. You just mentioned about the profit and loss. So basically, the new amount that we just did, which is how much again, guys? 189. So this is what we record now to the profit and loss. So you put I don't normally say profit and loss, but income statement, all right? So you put this to the income statement. So over to the debit side, you have income statement, $189. So this is now the new amount that you would record in your income
statement. Can you repeat what I said, please?
Repeat everything. Where exactly?
No, what to put in the table.
Okay. So for the credit side, this is the balance at start, 1,170 coming from the question at the top here. So this is the provision for doubtful debt. So that's the opening balance. And you credit the provision. And then over to your debit side now, based on what we just did, the calculation, you have income statement, as you guys just mentioned that you recorded it in a PPN, the profit and loss, but income statement, $189. All right, why I tend to lean to income statement? Normally in questions, recent questions, CXC is trying to use the new terminologies in accounts. So yes, they might have profit and loss account or trading and profit and loss, but they tend to lean in more towards income statement. All right, guys. So I want you to just ensure that you write that information. So that's just a 1 mark question, and that's it for that question. Are there any questions so far on what we just did? No questions, so we can basically move on then. All right. All right, so let me just stop sharing my screen. I'm just going to, pardon me?
I'm saying that I have a question, but it's not relating to what we just did.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just asking, in the exam, people write with a pencil?
I can hardly hear you. In the exam, go again.
I'm asking if in the exam we can write with a pencil.
No, well, I normally encourage my students for accounts, don't write with a pencil. Why? Because normally when you write on those papers, it tend to fade. And I don't want it to be a case where when it reaches the marker, they can hardly see. You understand? So please ensure that you write with your pen. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Please don't write with a pencil, especially for the figures. I don't want the figures to erase or, just fade away and they can't see what's there. Okay. All right. So we have another question that we're going to look at. I know I would have said that I wanted to look at the LLC question, but what I'm going to do, well, let me just do that because I want to share the answers with you guys. Can I just get one person email address? And what I'm going to do is just to send the papers and the answers to you guys. So one person, I just send it to this person, and then you can just share it with the others for me, please. So can you just drop your email address in the chat for me, please? Just one person. Yes, this is coming on the examiner, guys, for persons who are asking. All right, so Aliyah, thank you very much, Aliyah. That's the first one I'm seeing, so I'll just take yours and email you.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes, go ahead there.
Miss, how would the girls share it with the rest of us?
You're not a part of the same class, no?
No, miss.
No.
Different school.
Different
This
school.
is a different school, miss.
I thought there was like a, all right, never mind. What I'll do, I'll talk to the coordinator, all right? Okay.
It's like most of us are in the MOEY group. So.
We disagree, miss.
Okay, I'll talk to the coordinator. Not a problem. Thanks for that information.
Okay, miss.
All right, so let me just stop sharing and just share the other paper quickly. All right, so the cash book, we have not the cash book, the bank recon, we have that coming on the paper as well. So because of the time, let me just go ahead and share this one with you guys. You guys are familiar with bank reconciliation statement, right?
Yes, miss.
Yes.
Okay.
Miss,
Right, are you seeing my screen now?
No,
yes,
yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, awesome. All right, so let's now read through quickly and just do according. So we're gonna do the updated cash book. We're gonna do the bank reconciliation statement. So in September, Grenade's cash book showed an overdrawn balance of 3,400, which did not agree with the balance on his bank statement. So then and there, we know that this is the overdraft. What's the overdraft again?
Miss, when I borrow more money, take my money to the bank that we have, miss.
When you use more money than what you basically have in the bank, and the bank really have to allow you to do that. So it's not a case where, okay, I need to use 10,000 additional, let me just do it. You have to basically, communicate with the bank and the bank give it a go ahead if you can pay it back. All right. So that's what overdraft is right there. So let's just continue with the transactions. A check paid to Blue for $1,238 was correctly entered in the bank statement, but entered in the cash book as 1328. So we realized that there's an error here when we were recording the totals. So we now have to put this information to the updated cash book, right, guys?
Yes, miss.
Okay, awesome. So we know that's gonna affect updated cash book. The next one, bank charges for the month of $100. For the month of $100 were entered on the bank statement, but not in the cash book. This is straightforward. We have to put this information in the cash book as well. So this one also affect the cash book. The bank paid Grenades insurance of $900 as instructed by standing order. And you know what standing order is, guys? Can somebody else quickly tell me what it is?
Miss, you give the bank permission to pay bills
When they give the bank permission to
on a
pay
fixed
amount. Very good. Thank you, sir. So this is gonna affect the cash book, yes or no?
No,
Yes,
miss.
yes, because remember
Yes,
you're
miss.
taking the money from your account. So definitely this is gonna affect the cash book. So that one is for the cash book as well. The next one. Deposits of 8,000 made to the bank account on the 29th of September did not appear on the bank statement. Does this affect the cash book? This sounds like a bank reconciliation statement. Anybody agree?
Yes, miss.
The
Yes,
8,000, okay, so that's for bank recon. Hope you're making notes. So that's for bank recon. So we have one so far for bank recon. Dividends of 2,100 from Red Limited was paid directly to Grenades bank account. Does this affect the cash book?
Yes.
Yes, it affects the cash book dividends there. 4 checks totaling 5,200 have not been presented on the bank for to the bank for payment. This sounds more like a bank statement kind of thing. Do you agree?
It's the unpresented
Yes,
check.
Unpresented check. Very good. So that's for your bank recon. A check for 3,000 received from Yellow on the 2nd of September had been returned by the bank for insufficient funds. Does this affect your cash book? Yes, it does. Yes. So that's what kind of check do we call this?
Unpresented.
Dishonored check.
Dishonored. Remember, the unpresented is for your bank recon. It's a dishonored check. What does dishonored check means?
The check doesn't pass. The check bounced.
The check bounce. Yeah, man, as Jamaican, we use that term, the check bounce, because the person who wrote the check don't have enough money in their account for you to go and cash it. So that is why. All right. So let's now go ahead and prepare the updated cash book. So this is how you know the updated cash book would look. You know, you have the name of the company, Grenade, or the person, updated cash book as at 30th of September. So we have our debit side and we have our credit side. So because it was a bank overdraft, do we record the balance on the debit side or the credit side? The credit side. Once there is a bank overdraft, you record your balance in your cash book on the credit side. So go ahead and put in that information on your credit side.
Excuse me, miss?
Yes, go ahead.
Where has the question from?
Oh, sorry, this paper is 2016.
No, as in you can go more than you can screenshot this one.
Oh, you want to see the question? Oh, sorry. Let me just go up. Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, they're doing that. Miss, quick question. Miss, are the questions always going to come ruled and, titled and stuff?
Normally, they tend to try to assist you in the booklet that they give you. You will see they have if it is cash book, they will have this information, but at times you will have to write it up on your own. But definitely for formulas though, they don't give you formulas. You understand? Or for formats, they don't give you that. All right?
Funny stuff.
But in terms of the payroll, Mr. usually rule that I'm putting the heading.
Yes, they would normally give you the headings and so forth. So they write up the card, they would write it up for you. And you would have to fill in the information.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. So let me just go back down now. So you said that we're gonna record this information here, the bank overdraft, on our credit side. So it is 3,400. So you know that you put the date, of course, and it is balance brought down 3,400 on your credit side. Good. So we can go to the next one now, which is the check. A check paid to Blue for $12.38 there was an error here when they were writing the figure. And this tends to happen in accounts because remember accounts, we're dealing with figures. So sometimes we write the wrong figure. Sometimes we add a 0 or we basically take off a 0. All right, so if you realize these figures, they're similar. So there was an error here. So what is it that we're going to record in the cash book now for this particular one?
The first one, miss?
Yes, the check paid to Blue. Remember, we were supposed to enter 1,238, but we
You see, I credit,
entered.
miss.
It's overstated payment.
Why would we credit when we're getting the money in the bank account?
Miss credit the amount where you're over by.
All right, can you tell me the amount?
Look like 10-ish.
$90. The amount is $90. All right. So you're telling me that you're gonna put this $90 on the credit side of your cash book?
No, miss.
No. Remember, it is an overstated payment here, you know, because instead of you paying, remember I checked to Blue for that, 1238. It was currently entered in the bank statement. But when you put the information in your cash book, you put it for 1328. You were supposed to put it for 1238, but you made an overpayment of $90. So you're basically entering the difference here on the debit side of your cash book. Because remember, you're writing up the information for Blue. You're getting the money here. A check paid to Blue. You understand, guys? So the $90 here would have been the overstated payment. So that's what you put on the debit side, not the credit side. The next one here is the bank charges. Where do we record bank charges? Debit or credit?
Credit.
On the credit side. Why on the credit side?
Because you're charging the account.
Pardon me?
Because they're charging the account.
They're charging you to basically use their service.
It's money
so you
going
have to
out.
pay money, right? So money is coming out of your account. So remember now, as assets decreases, you have to credit. So the bank charges would be on the credit side as $100, all right? The next one that we said that is gonna be affected in the cash book is the bank paid grenade insurance, the standing order amount. Do we credit this or do we debit?
Credit.
Credit, why do we credit?
It's a payment.
It's a payment because remember somebody explained to us earlier that a standing order is you giving permission to the bank to take that money the same date, the same amount each month. All right. So you're taking money from your bank account. So it's a standing order and it's for insurance. So that's the details that you would put there. Standing order and you would put insurance of $900. Understand, guys?
No, sir.
Wait,
No,
can I
somebody
repeat?
said no.
Let me see, I go write up now.
Pardon me?
Are you going to write it up?
Yeah, man, I'm going to do it so you can see. But remember, I just want to explain before I go ahead and do it. All right. So I'm gonna put in the information so you can see it. All right. The next one would have been dividends. That's the next one there. Yes, dividends.
So past deposits, miss?
Pardon me?
Deposit with a bank
No, man, the
reconciliation.
deposits is for the bank recon.
Oh.
Yes, because remember it's made to the bank account. We pay that in the cash book, but we didn't see it appear in the bank statement. So
Yes,
for dividends, that's the next one that's affecting the cash book. Do we debit or credit this one? Dividends of debit, right? Pay directly to the bank account. So we're getting the money there. And the final one that we mentioned is the last one there, a check for $300. And we call it the dishonored check, all right? So insufficient funds. So the next thing that we would need to do is just the balance of the cash book. So let me know, just stop sharing this. Did you take the picture of this? And let me just go ahead and put in the information so that you guys can see. So let me go back to Word. Are there any questions so far, guys? It's okay?
Yes, miss, so far.
All right, so the information here would have been updated cash book.
Been last name.
That's September. You guys are seeing my screen, right?
Yes, miss.
Okay, September 2015. All right, so you know you have your dates, you have your details and your amount on either side on your bank, on your debit and credit. Know that we're supposed to finish at 5, but I just want to just quickly put in the information here for you guys so that you can see, all right?
Yes, miss.
All right, so we just do that. So we said that the balance is overdraft, so it's recorded on the credit side. Once it's not an overdraft, then definitely that's debited, all right? For your cash flow. So balance brought down. What's the amount again, guys?
It's
8,400.
8,400.
8,400, good. And then we have over on the debit side, the overstated payment. And this is blue, just write the name of the person. And sorry, this should have been in details. And what's the amount that we said that we required for the overstated payment?
$90.
The $90, and I'm hoping that everybody understand how we arrive at the 90.
Miss, some of us realize, miss. So
Realizing
we are the grenade company, miss.
that we're doing what?
Miss, me just realize we are the grenade company, miss.
Oh, yes. And then we have bank charges over to your credit side. How much is it for the bank charges?
$100.
100. Remember to mute your microphone if you're not asking a question, guys. And the next transaction is that of dividends.
Next question.
Go ahead.
Listen, for details where you have balance BD, Miss, why didn't you just put?
You normally put the folio. Yeah, why wouldn't I just put what?
Overdraft.
Oh, you can do that, but remember, once you're recorded in your cash book and you put your balance BD on the credit side, that is telling the person that this is an overdraft. Understand?
Yes, but if I had just put overdraft, would it be okay?
Yeah, man, it's okay. But normally overdraft means that you record the total on the credit side, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, miss.
Right. So if you put the details for balance BD, once it's on the credit side, that is telling us that it's an overdraft. If you put it on the debit side, no, when the question mentioned that it's an overdraft, that's where you would have gone wrong. Understand?
Yes, miss. What I would usually do is just to put bank overdraft and then put it on the credit side.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. We just want to know that you record it on the correct side, all right?
Yes.
And then the last one, this on a check.
Oh, stop it. Why you never do first question?
Pardon me?
Why you never do first question?
Which first question is that, sir?
Oh, never mind.
How much is it for the dishonored check again? $300?
Yes, miss.
All right, so what's the balance enough now? Do we still have an overdraft? It seems that way.
Yes, miss.
We still have an overdraft. All right, so let us just go ahead and put in the balances now. How much is the balance carried on?
2,500.
$2,510. Good. Is somebody asking a question?
No, miss.
Okay. So that's 2,510. And then our total is how much? 4,700. That's it, right? That's what you get?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So it is still an overdraft, of course. So we're gonna record our balance brought down now. So what you normally do, the person who just asked that question about writing the overdraft, do you normally put overdraft here again, or you normally just do the balancing off as is?
I would just do the balancing.
Okay. Alrighty. So we can safely say that we've completed the updated cash book now. So the final one would have been for your bank reconciliation statements. As I say, we know we're supposed to finish, but let me just quickly, yes.
Free balance carry down on the debit side, miss. Where that come from, miss?
Pardon me?
Miss, the balance carry down on the debit side, miss. Miss, so you get that.
The balance carry down, we would add up both sides and then minus the smaller side from the larger side. Because remember, we're balancing off, you know. All right?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have to put the balance brought down on it?
Pardon me?
Do we have to place the balance brought down on it?
Yes, because remember, normally is the balance brought down we look for in our different transactions, all right? Because this is telling us how much money is in the account. So normally we do that, okay?
So, Miss Wam, there is a transaction then.
We're doing them now, sir. I'm about to do them in the bank reconciliation statement. It's just 2 of them. So I'm just gonna quickly do that for you guys. Even though it is after 5, let me just quickly do it for you guys, all right? Let me just go back now. The person's still trying to join. But let me just go under the bank recon now for you guys. All right. Did you guys take the picture of the question there? So I can just scroll down. All right, so for the bank reconciliation statement now, what is it that we're going to start off with the overdraft, because you know that the cash book still have an overdraft, right? So the overdraft, because normally in questions, they will tell you what balance to use, but for this one, they did not. So therefore, we have to use the cash book, and remember that it's an overdraft. Good. So we're gonna use the overdraft. Well, let me just insert the table. No, I don't need a table. So we're gonna use the overdraft as per cash book. And how much is it again?
2,510.
How much is the amount? The negative 2,510 there. Yes, that's the balance. So overdraft as per cash book.
Miss, could you remind me how you know if it's an overdraft again?
Once the total is basically
side.
on the credit side in your cash book. All right.
Yes.
And in the question, they normally say, okay, this company have an overdraft. So you know that you're the one who's supposed to know which side to enter the total, the balance. So since it's an overdraft, I normally record it in using the brackets because you know that's it for accounts. So that's the overdraft as per cash book. The next information, because remember we have 2 information coming from the question that should be in the bank statement. We have the late lodgement, as somebody mentioned earlier, for the 8,000, and we have our unpresented checks for 5,200. All right, so let us just less or late lodgement now. We normally start with the late lodgement because this is an overdraft. If it wasn't an overdraft, we start with the unpresented checks. Yes?
Mr. Show, Alice, the late lodge.
Yes, sir. Late lodgements. How much is it again? 8,000.
Miss,
Yes.
Miss, I don't see I add blue account to the updated cash book.
The other thing there up at top.
It's there, man, in the details. You don't see it? Overstated payment, blue 90. You not seen it? Are you seeing it?
Yes,
Miss.
Okay. All right, so the late lodgement, and I'm gonna put this in bracket as well because we're gonna minus. And then we have add unpresented checks.
I thought it was the
How much
other
is
way around.
unpresented checks? For the person who was asking about late bank lodgements, I think it's because, thank you. I think it's because we're doing, remember that once you're starting with the overdraft as per cash book, because remember, this is not the total, the balance from the bank statement. So once you're starting with the overdraft as per cash book, that's the balance we're using, you normally less your late lodgements and add your unpresented checks. But if we were starting with the balance from
Mr.
your
Show, when
bank
you do the
statement,
overdraft and add late lodgement, then you less unpresented check.
All right, hold on. Let us
No.
just do it and let us just do it and you
Miss,
see now. All right.
Miss, I think I
So
have an
it is.
explanation for why they think that is the case. Miss, because some teachers just give you that format and then you can just use it. But if you were doing the way where you add the late lodgements and less unpresented check, you would not start with the 2,510 being an
Oh, I
overdraft.
understand
Miss,
probably
because
why he's
that's what
asking
I
then.
messed
Also,
out
some
as, and
persons
I
probably
still
don't.
got the same answer I get to get.
Miss, I'm percentage check of
Okay,
5,200, miss.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I understand what he's saying now. Okay. Well, I mean, if you don't know, you just don't know. But yes, that's how you would normally do it here. So we're minusing now. So the 5,200 from the 8,000, how much is it that we would get here?
What? You said, miss?
Anybody do the calculation? 2,800. Nobody get that?
Miss, I didn't hear what you said, miss.
I'm asking you for the calculation for the 5,200 from the 8,000. Would end up with the 2,800, right?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
Right. And then for the 2,800, now what is it that we're going to do to find the total? We're adding. So how much is it that we get for the total for a bank statement?
310.
And is this going to be a positive or a negative?
Negative.
Negative. Why?
Miss, because it's an overdraft.
It is an overdraft. Very good. So the balance as per bank statement would have been your 5,310. Let me put it in brackets. So that's an overdraft as well. So that's the reason there. So let me just ask the person now who was asking about why did I less bank lodgements. Do you understand now, sir? Not sure if he's still with us. Are you still here? Do you understand now?
Miss, me still not understanding, miss,
Yeah.
because when my teacher did show me, she give with the something them, she did give me a format and she did say when I have an overdraft, you normally add the late lodgement, then the list unpresented checks. I mean, I understand.
All right.
Now,
Are you
when you have an
sure?
overdraft, you do the way you do it this way. That you just.
That's what I'm about to ask
so
you.
that
Are you sure, sir, that you have the correct format? Because remember, I just explained to you that you have two ways to do in your bank reconciliation statement. So what I'm going to ask you to do, just check back your book. You understand? Because remember, the exam is tomorrow. Just check back your book. Overdraft.
Miss, me, I look on it right now and that it has say me.
Miss, even upon Miss, you hearing me?
Yes,
even
I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Even on the 2021 paper you were doing before this, with the control account question, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Miss, even on that, the bank reconciliation questions for that is unless the late lodgement, add the late lodgement, I say, and unless the unpresented check.
You less the, so what would you do? Tell me the calculation. I want to hear the calculation.
So you have the overdraft, then you add the late lodgement to the overdraft, then you less it from the unpresented check.
Hold on. So you have the balance here, the overdraft, which is the 2,510. And then what would you do now? I'm listening. Go ahead. What would you do with the 8,000?
Miss Yoda, then that would be the after you less it from the unpresented check. Miss Yoda get the overdraft as per cash. Not the bank statement.
But what I'm doing right now is basically what you're telling me now. See, if I should less the 8,000 right now, I would be getting a negative 10,510. So what do I do with this negative 10,510? Mine add the late lodgements. That's what you're saying?
No, miss the late lodgement to the
I think that's what you're saying, but you can do it that way as well. You understand what I'm saying? Because I wanted to hear from you and the figures. So if it is that, so I'm not sure if probably this is how the gentleman understands it. So if it is that I'm using his format and your format to do the same question. Understand? So listen now. So if it is that you should add the 2,510, remember this is a negative figure, with the late lodgements, right, sir and miss? You would end up with the negative 10,510, right? And then you're telling me that you're gonna add now the unpresented check, which is the 5,200.
Miss the 2,500.
Miss, man, I get confused now, miss.
I'm not confusing. I'm trying to help you, sir, because you're telling me that that's what you have in your book. But if it is that you do it, Oh, not you. Sorry, the other person, man. So if it is that you're doing it how this lady is explaining, then you would still end up with the 5,310. That's what I'm telling you. You understand?
Excuse me,
Do you understand? The person, the person who just tell me that that's what they do. I didn't get the name. I want you to just go and do the put in the figures now in your calculator. You would still end up with the 5,310. So if that's the way you're comfortable doing it, then you do it that way. I normally tell you, guys, that when in accounts, there's not just one way to do things. So whichever way you're comfortable and stick to that way. All right. But I normally ensure that I do all the different methods, all the different formats so that you can have an open mind. All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, go ahead with your question. Somebody have a question?
Can you check the waiting room, please?
No, I can't do that right now because I'm about to end now, all right?
Okay, miss.
Yes, so what I will do, as I mentioned, this paper is 2016. Yes, so what I will do, I'm going to talk to the coordinator and I'm going to just drop the paper with the person and see if they can distribute it, all right?
To school emails, miss?
I'm not sure how she's going to do it, but I'll try. But what you can do though, for those persons who are asking about the different papers, you can basically go on the internet and just type in the different year paper, and I'm telling you that they're there. All right, so just try. If you didn't try, just try to type in, say for example, you want to look at POA paper 2 for 2015. You understand? Just type it in and the paper will be there. All right, guys. Remember, in accounts, you have to work smart. All right. So just a few things before we go. Just ensure that you read through the paper before you start doing the paper. You know that you have 5 questions to complete. Each question is 20 marks. I normally advise my students to start with the question that you're more comfortable doing, so you can get additional marks on, more marks on, instead of wasting the time on probably questions that you're not so comfortable with. So work that way and it will be better for you. Please ensure that you don't leave any question blank. Even if you're not sure if it is a ledger they're asking you to open, just try to do something. You might never know. All right, guys? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, so basically the most of the questions other than manufacturing account.
Pardon me?
Miss, excuse me, Miss. I was wondering, Miss, if you could send me the past papers with the answer, Miss, and I'll compile it and send the link before you end off, Miss.
What is your email address?
Miss, I'll send it to you, Miss.
You're sending it in the chat now? Because there's so many messages in the chat, sir.
Miss, I'll send it to you privately so you can see it.
All right. Yeah, somebody else have a question because I have to go now, guys.
Miss, do you know if we will be getting petty cash book?
If I know, remember, petty cash book is on our books of original entry, guys. So
Miss, I sent it, Miss.
You send your email. All right, so it's okay. Let me just write it down. So to answer your question, sir, remember that it is on the petty cash. It's on the book of original entry. All right. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions before I go? Because I really have to go. It's 5:17. Okay. One last question.
I just hold on to, miss. You know, miss?
Well, I mean, at least you pass, but I don't want you to settle. Don't settle. Go ahead with your question, miss.
Miss, what is production budget?
Oh gosh, I really can't go through this because I don't want to just tell you surface answer. I really can't go through this. I know that you guys would have your questions and so forth. I wish I would probably, what I probably should do is just to take a 15 minutes and do that, but because we're over time now, I really have to go now. All right, but guys, if you know this person, let me just give you a video name on YouTube that you can go and watch right now. Hold on. He is very good when it comes on to explaining, when it comes on to doing different topics and so forth. It is Adapt Tuition. So please write this down and go on YouTube and look him up. It's an Indian man and you can understand what he's saying. Do you guys know about him?
Yes.
Yes, so it is ADAPT, Adapt Tuition. So that's the name. So just do that right now and go whatever questions you're probably not so comfortable on, just go on YouTube him right now. All right. All right, guys. So I'm just going to say, I know that we have a lot of students from all different schools. I just want to say all the very best to you. I know you're going to do well. All right. So just put in some more work tonight and don't be negative. All right. So all the very best. And I will take my leave now. All right, guys.
Thank you, Miss, and thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Thanks for extra class,
Bye-bye.
Miss.
Okay, bye.
Yes.
Thanks.
Miss, could you please repeat the name of the person?
Adapt tuition.
That's crazy. I need more than YouTube, bro.
Okay, Miss, thank you.